The Cleveland Cavaliers are 52-10 and still have a pretty decent chance at finishing the season with 70 wins, but they are on fire again. They've won 12 in a row. The Deandre Hunter trade, I mentioned it in one of my videos before, but the Deandre Hunter trade, when it happened, shifted my view of the Cavaliers and their chances of coming out of the East, or really just how they match up with the Boston Celtics. And they have just been killing teams once again. Deandre Hunter has fit in perfectly. Jerome now has the full reins as the sixth man, basically, coming off the bench with Caris LeVert being sent to Atlanta. So let's talk about the Cavs really quickly, because the evolution of this team over the years has been really cool to see. And one of the main reasons that, at least early on in the season, even when they were on their hot winning streak and started out 17-0, and then, what was it? They were like 36-7 at one point. I was still of the opinion that the Celtics were the clear favorite to come out of the East, but my tune has changed completely as the season has gone on. Now, would I still pick the Celtics in an eventual Eastern Conference Finals? Probably, but would I be shocked if the Cavaliers beat the Celtics? Not at all, because all year they have displayed all the qualities that you look for in a contender. The fact that they play together, the chemistry, all like the stuff that the stats necessarily can't capture, the chemistry, everybody knows their roles, the pieces fit together really nicely. They have a lot of versatile lineups they can throw out there, and that's really the true mark of a contender. If you look at teams like the Celtics, the Thunder, and the Cavs, which to me those are like the top three teams in the NBA, and then there's a little bit of a gap, then there's everybody else. They can just adapt to whatever the game is based on lineups, based on personnel, based on whatever. And the Cavaliers have that in spades now. And one of their weaknesses over the years has been the wing room. It's always been some combination of, Caris LeVert, Dean Wade, and then if somebody gets hurt, like a Dean Wade did a couple of years ago with his shoulder injury, that wing room looks really thin because Isaac Okoro at that point was still turning into a good corner three-point shooter, but was still someone that teams would leave open. But his defense in his length and his size at the wing position was really valuable. So you were kind of caught in a position of maybe risking playing 4-on-5 on offense, but you need a credible wing out there to defend. And that was sort of an issue in the playoffs too, a little bit. In the Knicks series, he would get left open whenever he did get minutes, and his minutes were kind of up and down. But now you look at the Cavs and their wing room now with Max Strus, with Dean Wade, a healthy Dean Wade, more importantly, Isaac Okoro, and now Deandre Hunter. It kind of fills out the wing room in a way where I'm like, okay, this team can compete with anybody in the NBA, especially the big guards and the big wings. And in the Celtics-Cavs game a few weekends ago, there was a lineup out there with Mobley at the center, Deandre Hunter at the 4, Isaac Okoro at the 3. I forgot who was playing the 2, but then it was Donovan Mitchell at the point guard. And that's just a lineup where it's like, this lineup is very versatile, can defend across the board, and can also, not be hamstrung offensively. And that's just a combination that the Cavs, even though they had, Mobley, Allen, Mitchell, and Garland, just always finding that fifth guy or fitting that fifth guy in the lineup. That was always the challenging part, because you could go with LeVert and extra ball handling, but you're still pretty thin. Or you can put in Isaac Okoro and, teams will ignore him. Dean Wade, like I mentioned, especially 2 years ago, wasn't really healthy. Really came on last year when the Cavs went on that crazy run earlier in the season. But this Cavs team now just feels a lot more complete. There's just some crazy numbers with the Deandre Hunter stuff. They have him coming off the bench right now. Deandre Hunter attempting nearly 5 threes a game, shooting 52% from 3, which is absolutely wild. And by the way, Deandre Hunter having the rare 6-year leap. I mentioned him in a Hawks video that I did to start the season, where I have the take that the Hawks could finish above the Miami Heat in the rankings in the playoffs, and I had some comments that were quite frankly disrespectful. I had to remove them, but they were kind of freaking out that I put the Hawks over the Heat a little bit. And in my Hawks video, I was explaining that Deandre Hunter quietly came on last year as a sixth man and has really continued the hot shooting this year with Atlanta, and then just really amping up the hot shooting with Cleveland and providing that defense on the perimeter. So the Cavaliers' offense with DeAndre Hunter on the court is just a blazing 126.6 offensive rating. That is 98th percentile. Then on defense, obviously he brings, the two-way play. The Cavaliers are a 108.5, and the Cavs were already a good defensive team, already an elite defensive team before DeAndre Hunter got there. And now that he is there, that is just another option for the Cavs to throw out there. And Richard Jefferson brought this point up during the Cavs-Celtics game. DeAndre Hunter can kind of now, aside from Dean Wade, he can be a 3 that could play a 4, which makes the Mobley-only lineups where he's only at center and the Allen center-only lineups, that makes them a lot more palatable, a lot more versatile, and you don't give up, the usual size you would if you put someone like 6'5" there or whatever it is. And then on top of that, the DeAndre Hunter-Caris LeVert deal also was just a clear indication that they were willing to ride with Ty Jerome, who has been absolutely fucking awesome this year as a guard coming off the bench. He has somehow replicated his 2020-21 season from OKC and is now taking that 5 years later or 4 seasons later and putting this with the Cavaliers. 44% from 3, 50% from the field, 12 points a game, over 3 assists, and nearly 3 rebounds. That is an awesome change of pitch type of player that you could just put into a game and he'll impact it. He'll have these crazy outbursts in a quarter where he's making everything. And of course, DeAndre Hunter and Ty Jerome were teammates going all the way back to Virginia, and they're legitimate friends, so they already have chemistry coming off of the bench. And what do you know? The Ty Jerome, DeAndre Hunter-led lineups, those are also blasting teams off the court with a 128.2 offensive rating and a 107.1 defensive rating. Absolutely ridiculous. And by the way, I haven't even brought up how good their core 4 of Jarrett Allen, Evan Mobley, Donovan Mitchell, and Darius Garland have been playing. Especially Donovan Mitchell scaling back the scoring a little bit, and in turn, it has made Evan Mobley more confident. Jarrett Allen is catching everything and finishing at like 70% shooting. And Darius Garland, as sort of the connecting piece, his numbers are back up. Kenny Atkinson has empowered him more as a ball handler and as an off-ball threat too. The way Kenny Atkinson had fit the pieces together even before the DeAndre Hunter trade, pulling the right buttons, empowering the right people, was already spectacular. And now you add in DeAndre Hunter to kind of complete your wing room. Like, the Cavs have 4 legitimate wings now in their rotation. And I know maybe I'm stretching it a little bit with Max Strus, counting him as a wing, but he's still 6'5", and we've seen multiple playoff series with him now with the Miami Heat, where people try to attack Max Strus, and it's sort of like that Sam Hauser thing with the Celtics, where you think he's a pigeon on the court on defense, and offensive players will try to hunt them relentlessly. But then you look at them and you're like, oh, they slide their feet pretty well. He's not reaching or doing any bad techniques or anything like that. And he's just remaining solid. Not spectacular, not lockdown, not wow, he's hounding this guy. He's holding his own. And Max Strus is a competent defender, and that was sort of an underrated thing with him when he signed with Cleveland last year and why he was such a good pickup. But it wasn't like enough. But now with DeAndre Hunter, now with Dean Wade, now 2 years removed from that shoulder injury, Isaac Okoro now can kind of fill in as the third wing too, and Max Strus. The Cavaliers now have a lot of answers, because even still, early on in the season, and I've talked to some of my really good buddies like Evan Damerel, who covers the Cavaliers, we were always talking about how the wings, the teams with the big wings, are still kind of the teams you got to look out for with the Cavaliers. Like, even during their hot stretch early in the season, right? They had 2 losses to the Atlanta Hawks because of them big-ass wings. Orlando presents a different matchup for the Cavaliers, obviously, but because the Magic's offense stinks to high heaven all the time, the Cavaliers, that's light work for the Cavaliers. But the Celtics too. But now, with this wing room, and I failed to mention this, Evan Mobley is the answer to all of the Cavaliers' problems. And really the guy where if the Cavs want to win a championship in this era, Evan Mobley's got to be the guy. And he has leveled up in such a way where you could just tell he's moving different. His confidence is on 10. He handles the ball more. He grabs and goes more. He was already sort of doing little things here and there under JB Bickerstaff. Like I remember in the 2022-23 season, the Cavaliers, like in early January of that year, were empowering Evan Mobley to do more dribble handoffs with Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell, blah, blah, blah. Kenny Atkinson has fully given this man confidence. Donovan Mitchell has fully given this man confidence. And you can tell by his actions with the scaled back production, but in return, you get higher success. Evan Mobley can kind of just be the answer to everything. He can guard wings, he can guard guards, he can protect the rim, he can do weak side. It's really wild how good of a defender Evan Mobley is. And I think the difference between him and someone like a Jaren Jackson Jr., who is a condor around the rim and can block everything, Evan Mobley's versatility across the board, being able to slide his feet like that, that's what makes him valuable. And with the Cavs having a complete wing room now and Mobley being the fifth guy essentially on top that solves everything, I like the Cavs' chances against the Celtics a lot more in a potential Eastern Conference Finals. And if you notice in these Celtics-Cavs matchups, if I'm just going to limit it to that matchup now, because I really think these are going to be the two teams to face off in the conference finals. If you're just looking at a potential Cavs-Celtics series, with all the concerns I had in the past about the Cavs and the wings, and even with this new complete wing room, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are still going to get theirs. That's been very clear in, this little regular season series so far. And on the other side, they're not going to stop Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland, even though they have Derek White and Drew Holiday, who are the two ideal guards you would want to guard Mitchell and Garland, right? So if one team can't stop the other team's duo while the other team can't stop the other team's duo, you have to look at the other players and the X factors, and the Cavs have the big X factor on their side, Evan Mobley. While the Celtics, obviously Drew Holiday can score, Derek White can score, Kristaps Porzingis kind of provides a level of spacing for the Celtics that makes them unbeatable almost at times, or makes them seem unbeatable almost at times. But the Cavaliers have built and crafted their roster in a way where I think they can legitimately now challenge the Celtics, challenge the Thunder. And with the Deandre Hunter trade, that just gives them more pop, a little bit more shot creation, a little bit more size on the wing, and that makes them more complete. And I just think we are in for a hell of an Eastern Conference Finals. But as it stands right now, it's the Thunder, the Cavs, and the Celtics in whatever order you want to put them in. The only difference is now I won't argue with you if you think the Cavs can come out of the East.